Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Dear students, today our topic of discussion is sex determination. And there are different sex determination systems in different living species. And today we will only be looking at one form of the sex determination system, and that is chromosomal sex determination systems. And in chromosomal sex determination systems, there are some subsystems which include XX and XO sex determination system, then X at X and XY system, and then ZZ and ZW system. And at the last, we will be looking at the haplodiploidy. So these are the four systems. So before going into the detail of these sex determination systems, let us have look at the example which has been given by the Charles Darwin in 1875 in his book on the origin of the species. And he has given example of a family from Sindh, and this family was men of this family, around 10 men of this family in the four generations were having both jaws together and with only four small weak incisor teeth and with eight posterior molars. So the men thus affected have little hair on the body, almost no hairs on the body, and become bald very early in the life, and thus they are called toothless, hairless men of sin. So they all also suffer much during the hot weather. When the weather is very hot, then their skin becomes excessively dry, and because they cannot sweat and because of no sweating, their skin becomes dry also. So it is remarkable that no instance has occurred of a daughter being thus affected. So in the family, females were not affected, only males were affected. Though the daughters in the above family are never affected, they are capable of transmitting the disease to their sons. And no case has occurred of a son transmitting it to his son. So there was no male to male transmission. Disease was only inherited from the mother side. So these men possessed a genetic condition, and that genetic condition is named as the anhidrotic ectodermal dysplasia. And this disease is characterized by small teeth, no sweat glands, and sparse or very low hair on the body. So these all observations were noted by the Darwin at that time. So there were several key features of the inheritance. Although Darwin did not knew about the genetic inheritance patterns at that time, but he was very keen to note all those features of the disease. So although it occurs primarily in men, this condition, anhidrotic dysplasia, it only occurs in men. Fathers never transmit the trait to their sons. So unaffected daughters, however, may pass the trait to their sons, and those sons, the grandsons of are actually the grandsons of those affected men. So these features of inheritance are the hallmark of sex-linked traits. Nowadays we know that when these type of features are present, so we can say that this is the trait which is sex-linked trait. But at that time there was no explanations of sex linked inheritance. So now coming towards the sex determination. So sexual reproduction is the formation of offspring that are genetically distinct from their parents. So individuals are produced from the parents, and parents are contributing some part, but their offsprings are not exactly same. So they are genetically distinct. So most often two parents contribute genes to their offspring. So in the sexual reproduction, two parents are contributing their genes to their offsprings. So among most eukaryotes, sexual reproduction consists of two processes, and those two processes then lead to an alternation of the haploid and diploid generations. So these two processes are meiosis and fertilization. Meiosis produces the haploid gametes, whereas fertilization produces the diploid gametes. When haploid gametes, that are eggs and sperms, they are fertilized, then the 2n number is again restored. So this is the sexual reproduction in which two parents are contributing the genetic material to their offsprings. So in this figure you can easily understand that meiosis produces the haploid gametes, whereas fertilization then again, when two gametes are fused, they produce the zygote and 2n number is restored. So meiosis and fertilization, they are alternating the haploid and diploid cells. So the term sex actually refers to the sexual phenotype. So most organisms have two sexual phenotypes, and those two phenotypes are males and females. The fundamental difference between males and females is the gamete, size of the gamete. Size of the gamete is very small in the case of sperms, but it is very large, as you can see in the figure. Sperm is, this flagellar sperm is very small, but the female produce relatively large gametes, and egg is a large gamete, and there is a huge difference in the size of the gametes. So mostly males produce the sperm and females produce the eggs, and there is a very large difference in size of these two gametes. And when sperm and eggs unite, then fertilization takes place and a zygote is formed, and then zygotes divide to produce the whole organism. So the mechanism by which sex is established is termed as the sex determination system. So we define the sex of an individual in terms of the individual's phenotype. So sex of the individual is defined by the phenotype, which is which a person is having. So ultimately the type of gametes that it produces. So sometimes an individual has chromosomes or genes that are normally associated with one sex, but a morphology is corresponding to the opposite sex. So in when we will be discussing the examples of the examples in our next lecture, we will see that there are sometimes males. Cells of female humans normally have two X chromosomes, and the cells of males have only one X chromosome and one Y chromosome. But in that case, outward appearance is different. They are genetically female, but their phenotype is male. So there are examples, and we will be discussing the examples in our next lectures. So a few rare persons have male anatomy, although their cells each contain two X chromosomes. Anatomy is male, but their cells are containing two X chromosomes. So genetically, they are females, but phenotypically they are males. So even though these people are genetically female, we refer to them as the male because their sexual phenotype is male. So phenotype is very important. When when the phenotype is male, we will be saying that this person is male. So there are molecular bases of these conditions. So we will be discussing these conditions later. So at this time you should only remember that there can be some conditions where genetically different genetic makeup which is of female, but the phenotype is of male. So we will be saying that they are male. So there are many ways in which sex differences arise. So in some species, both sexes are present in the same individual. And when both sexes are present in the same individual, this condition is termed as hermaphroditism. Both male and female are present in the same individual. And organisms that bear both male and female reproductive structures are said to be monoecious. Monoecious means one house. So both male and female are present in one individual. So species in which an individual has either male or female reproductive structures are said to be dioecious. And dioecious means two houses. And human beings are dioecious because a man can be male, or he or she can be male, or he or she can he can be male, or female if it is having X and X chromosome normally, then will be female. So both male and female sexes are present in different individuals, therefore humans are dioecious. So among dioecious species, the sex of an individual may be determined by chromosomal, genetic, or environmental factors. So you should always keep in mind that mm, among the dioecious species, the sex of an individual may be determined chromosomally, genetically, or environmentally. So now coming toward the chromosomal sex determination system, the chromosome theory of inheritance states that genes are located on the chromosomes. Genes are present on the chromosomes, which serve as the vehicles for gene segregation in the meiosis. And when these chromosomes segregate during meiosis, so they are also carrying the genes with them. So they are, we can say that these chromosomes are the vehicles for gene segregation during meiosis. So definitive proof of this theory was provided by the discovery that the sex of certain insects is determined by the presence or absence of a particular chromosome. So in 1991, Hanking was the person who noticed a very peculiar structure in the nuclei of the cells from male insects, and he was not aware of the function of that structure and nor its relation to the sex. He called the structure the X body, and later Mackling studied the Hanking's X body in grasshoppers and recognized that it was a chromosome. So knowledge is growing step by step, gradually. So Hanking said that this is a X body, and when Mackling studied in grasshoppers, he said that this X body is actually a chromosome, and Mackling called this the accessory chromosome. But eventually, it became known as the X chromosome from the Hanking's original designation. Hanking gave the name of X body, so nowadays this X body is known as the X chromosome. So Mackling observed that the cells of female grasshopper had one more chromosome than the cells of male grasshopper. So he concluded that the accessory chromosome played a role in the sex determination. So these were the observations of Mackling. And then further in 1905, Natty Stevens and Edmund Wilson demonstrated that in grasshopper and some other insects, cells of female have two X chromosomes, and the cells of males have a single X chromosome. Females are having two X chromosomes, whereas males are having only a single chromosome. And in some insects, they counted the same number. That is, chromosome number is same in males and females, in cells of the males and females. But they also saw that one chromosome pair was different. So 2X chromosomes were found in females, whereas a single X chromosome plus a smaller chromosome was also found in the case of males. And this different chromosome was called Y chromosome. And in males, an X chromosome and a Y chromosome is found, whereas in the females, two X chromosomes are found. So if we look at this figure, if in the parental generation male and females are present, and when they will be mating and their offsprings are born, so first of all during the gamete formation, and then in the F1 generation gametes are formed, and then in the F1 generation, if we look at the different combinations, so we will be having 1-to-1 ratio in the sex. So 50% are males and 50% are female. When X chromosome is present, then phenotype will be female, and when XY genotype is present, phenotype will be male. So there is a 50% chance for the production of female and 50% chance for the production of male. So in the case of chromosomal sex determination system, when XX chromosomes are present in the female, and XY chromosome are present in the male, then there are 50-50 chances of getting the male and female progeny. So first of all, XX and XO determine sex determination system. Sex determination in grasshopper is one of the simplest mechanism of chromosomal sex determination and is known as the XO system. And in this system, female has two X chromosomes, whereas males possess only a single chromosome, and males are designated as XO. XO means that there is no X chromosome, there is no O chromosome. Sorry, there is no O chromosome. O is just a letter that is signifying the absence of a sex chromosome. So sex chromosome is present in 2n number in females, whereas in the males only single X chromosome is found in the case of XXXO sex determination systems. So in the meiosis in females, two X chromosome pair and then separate, with one X chromosome entering each haploid egg. And in males, the single X chromosome segregates to half of the sperms, and the other half of the sperm receive no sex chromosome. And because males produce two different types of gametes with respect to the sex chromosome, they are said to be the heterogametic sex. So males, in the case of XXXO sex determination system, males are heterogametic, whereas females which produce gametes that are all the same with respect to the sex chromosome are known as the homogametic sex. So in the XXXO system of sex determination, the sex of an individual is therefore determined by which type of male gamete fertilizes the egg. If a sperm containing X chromosome fertilizes the egg, then phenotype of the individual will be female. And when sperm containing no X chromosome will fertilize the egg, then the phenotype will be male. So X bearing sperm unites the X bearing eggs to produce the ZZ zygote, and this eventually develops into female. But sperm lacking X chromosome when will unite with the X bearing eggs to produce the XO zygote, it will develop into males. So next is XXXY sex determination system, and in many species the cells of males and females have the same number of chromosomes. Number of chromosomes is same in both sexes. The cells of the female have two X chromosome, and cells of the males have a single X chromosome and a smaller sex chromosome known as the Y chromosome, and then thus the males have XX and XY chromosomes. Females have XX chromosome, whereas males have XY chromosome. So in humans and many other organisms, the Y chromosome is acrocentric. There are different types of uh, chromosomes depending upon the position of the centromere. When centromere is almost in the middle of two arms, then it is known as the metacentric, and when P arm is longer than the Q arm, and then when Q arm is longer than the P arm, and there is a slight difference, then it is submetacentric, and when P arm is very small, then this is known as the acrocentric. And there is another fourth type of also. So there are four different types of chromosomes based on the position of the centromere. This is centromere. So Y chromosomes are mostly acrocentric, and when this centromere is present on one side only, and there is no P arm, small arm, then this is known as the telocentric. So in this type of sex determination system, the male is the heterogametic sex, which means that half of his gametes have the X chromosome and half have the Y chromosome. So in XXXY sex determination system, males are again heterogametic like the previous system XXXO system, but in that system there was only one X chromosome, and in this system we have a different chromosome from the X chromosome. So half of the sperms are having the Y chromosome and half of the sperms are having the X chromosome. The female is the homogametic because all the eggs have X chromosome. So all her eggs contain a single X chromosome. So many organisms including some plants, insects and reptiles and all the mammals including humans, have the XXXY XXXY sex determination system. So although the X and Y chromosomes are not generally homologous, they do pair and segregate. They are not homologous, but they are pairing and they are segregating into different cells in meiosis. So how they are pairing? So they can pair because chromosomes, these chromosomes are homologous at small regions, and those small regions are known as pseudo autosomal regions or PARs, in which they carry the same genes. So they are homologous, but at the tips. So genes found in the PARs, in these PARs, will display the same pattern of inheritance as that of the genes located on the autosomal chromosomes. So in humans, there are pars at both tips of the X and Y chromosomes, and pairing can occur at those tips, as you can clearly see in this figure that this is the X chromosome, and X chromosome is larger than the Y chromosome, but there are some pseudo-autosomal regions at the tips of both chromosomes, and these chromosomes are pairing at these sites during the meiosis. So next is ZZ and ZW sex determination system. So in this system, the female is heterogametic. In previous two systems, males were heterogametic, but in the ZZ-ZW, female is heterogametic and male is homogametic. In the males, the sex chromosomes are same, but in the females, sex chromosomes are different. So to prevent the confusion with the XX and XY sex determination system, these the sex chromosomes in this system are labeled as Z and W, but the chromosome do not resemble Z's and W's. So this shape of the chromosome is not related to the Z's and W's. Just to prevent the confusion with these, in these uh, species, the naming system for the sex determination system is ZZ-ZW, because in some organisms the female is heterogametic and male is homogametic. So when male is homogametic, sex determination system is ZZ and ZW. So females in the system are ZW, and after meiosis, half of the eggs have a Z chromosome and the other half have the W chromosome, and males are ZZ, therefore all the sperms contain a single Z chromosome. So the ZZ-ZW system of sex determination is found in birds, moths, and some amphibians, and some fishes also. So next topic is haplodiploidy, and some insects in the order Hymenoptera, which include some bees, wasps, and ants also, and they have no sex chromosome. There is no sex chromosome in this order. Instead, sex is based on the number of chromosome sets found in the nucleus of each cells. So in these species, sex chromosome is not present, but the number of chromosome is important. Number of chromosome sets is important to look at the gender of the individual. So males mostly develop from unfertilized egg, and females develop from the fertilized egg. I think this concept is may be new for some people, and some people may have listened about it. So males in haplodiploidy, males develop from the unfertilized egg, whereas females develop from fertilized eggs. So the cells of male hymenopterans possess only a single set of chromosomes, or they are haploids. And this set is inherited from the mother. So in contrast to this, the cells of females possess two sets of chromosomes, and because they are having two sets, they are diploids, and one set is inherited from the mother and one set is inherited from the father. So in the case of haplodiploidy, males are haploid and they are developed from unfertilized eggs, whereas females are developed from fertilized eggs, and they have 2n number of chromosomes. And in the case of females, one set of chromosomes inherited from the mother, and the other set is inherited from the father. So if we look at this figure also, in the parental generation, female fly is having 2n number of chromosomes, whereas male is having n number of chromosomes. When gametes are formed, gametes are, in the case of males, gametes are formed by mitosis, and therefore they are same, they are identical genetically. But in the case of females, normal meiosis process takes place, and after the meiosis, n number of n number of chromosomes are present in the gametes, which are eggs. And when in the F generation, if the egg is fertilized, then zygote will be 2n number of chromosomes. Zygote will be having 2n number of chromosomes, and the phenotype of the individual will be female. But if egg is not fertilized, then that unfertilized egg will develop to a male phenotype, and that zygote will be having only n number of chromosomes, and this n number of chromosome containing zygote will produce a male fly. So the haplodiploid method of sex determination produces some odd genetic relationships. So when both parents are diploid, siblings on the average have half their gene in common, because they have 50% chance of receiving the same allele from each parent. So in these insects, normally there is 50% chance, but in the case of haplodiploidy, in these insects, males produce sperm by mitosis, so they are already haploid, and so all offsprings receive the same set of paternal genes, and the diploid females produce eggs by normal meiosis process. So therefore, sisters in these insects will have a 50% chance of receiving the same allele from their mother, and a 100% chance of receiving the same allele from their father. 50% of chance is for receiving the same allele from their mother, whereas 100% chance of receiving the same allele from their father. So on average, relatedness between the sisters is therefore 75%. So genetically they are 75% resemblance. There is a 75% resemblance in the case of females. But in the case of brothers, a 50% chance of receiving the same copy each from the mother's two alleles at any particular locus. So their average relatedness is only 50%. In the case of females, relatedness is 75%, whereas in the case of males, relatedness is only 50%. So the greater genetic relatedness among the female siblings in insects with haploid sex determination may contribute to the high degree of social cooperation that exists among the females, those are that are actually workers uh, of these insects. So in the case of bees, in the case of ants and wasps, females are socially very cooperative. They are working together, and that social cooperation, that socially cooperative behavior may be attributed to the 75% relatedness of their genetic makeup. So this is today's lecture, and I think it is interesting also, and you may have understood this when you will be listening this. So if any question arises, you need further clarification, although I have tried to make it very clear, but even if some of you have question, do not become shy. There is no issue in asking any question. You can ask on the online session, but it is mandatory to listen the lectures before attending the online question answer session. So I am again repeating that we have looked at one part of the chromosomal sex determination system, one part of the sex determination system, which is chromosomal sex determination system. And in this system, we have four subtypes: XXXO sex determination system, XXXY sex determination system, ZZZW sex determination system, and haplodiploidy. So each type has its own features, and in the next lecture we will be looking at other two types, which are genic sex determination system and environmental sex determination system. And in addition to this, we will also be looking at the sex determination in Drosophila and sex determination system in humans, and we will also be looking at few examples. So for understanding the next lectures, it is necessary to go through the previous lectures also. So if you will look at this lecture before coming to the question answer session, then it will be easy for us to move forward towards our next lectures. So if anybody needs some more clarification, we can easily address this in our next lectures. So until now, you should keep in mind that in the sex determination systems we have different types, and first type, which is chromosomal sex determination system, we have covered in our today's lecture, and it has four subtypes. So if you will keep in mind these four subtypes and how gender is determined in these four types, then in the next lecture we will be covering the remaining two systems, and then it will be easy to understand the things also. So thank you very much. So hopefully see you in online session. Thank you. Allah Hafiz.